Henry wants to improve his life, so he hops on YouTube and finds videos that promise to help him do just that. He consumes several of these videos, and then starts making a grand plan for success. A week passes, and he hasn't taken any action yet. But that's okay, Henry tells himself. It's only been a week, I'm still planning. A month passes, and he still hasn't started. But that's alright, he says, because I still have time. I'll start next week, and I'll be so much better prepared with all this extra information I have. That month turns into several of continuous content consumption without taking any action. Trying to find the next thing that will solve all his fears, give him self-confidence, answer all his questions, and make it easy to just finally start. All from the comfort of his bedroom. Months turn into a year as Henry continues to consume self-help videos, telling himself that he'll start eventually. And when he does, he'll surely knock it out of the park because of all he's learned, half of which he's forgotten. At the same time, Jonathan was in the same place as Henry. Except Jonathan chose to take tiny steps towards his goal instead of creating a plan of massive action. After watching a few self-help videos, Jonathan decided to purchase some 20-pound weights off Amazon to keep in his room so that he could get a few reps in each morning. He also started applying for one job a week and began to get into some cheap hobbies that would get him out of the house and meeting people. Weeks turned into months for Jonathan. He was now employed at an okay job and begun to put on a tiny bit of weight. Sure, it wasn't the pound a week that all the videos told him that he should be able to, but Jonathan understood the value of small efforts compounding over time. His few morning reps had begun to turn into a full small morning routine, and he'd started making some friends at the hobbies that he was trying. A year passed, and while Henry's mental health fell into decline as he panicked trying to figure out how to achieve his big goals faster and faster to make up for lost time, Jonathan had put on 5 pounds of muscle over the year, began talking to a girl he met through one of his hobbies, and was looking at a raise in the new year for good work at his job, because he allowed himself to enjoy the process, rather than forcing himself to endure it. Sometimes what's not enough is exactly what you have to do. I know that sounds ridiculous in a world where we are told we should have been a charismatic millionaire supermodel by yesterday, and that massive action or going full monk mode for 6 months is the only way that we can make up for all the time that we've wasted. But if you're not where you want it to be in your life right now, ask yourself, if you had just started doing the little things when you first began, that at the time you didn't think were enough, and built on them over the weeks, months, and years that led up to where you are now, how much further would you be? I know for myself, the answer is substantially. Even if I had just done virtually nothing, I would have been a lot further along than I am now, starting where I'm at. We're so obsessed with speed. I have to be an overnight success, get shredded in 10 weeks, and get the hot date tomorrow. But that overarching pie-in-the-sky ideal that we know deep down isn't possible just makes things harder. It actively makes us take steps in the wrong direction because our goals are too far beyond our reach. And maintaining them for a year or more just feels exhausting just to think about. So each day we make the small, easy choices that help us relieve some of the overwhelm, while fooling ourselves into thinking we're actually making progress. But in reality, just creating far more pressure on our future self. Then we wake up and realize that we've lost 2, 3, 5 years and are no closer to our goal. But just as small choices in the wrong direction got you to where you are now, small choices in the right direction are what will get you out. We're surrounded by a culture hell-bent on you needing to take massive action to be successful, and telling us that anything less makes us a failure. That we just need to stop being lazy and become a machine. I know I'm certainly guilty of falling into that mindset, but it's only ever led to me feeling burnt out, like I'm not enough, and losing hope. Then, a couple months ago, I had a number of things come up that needed to get done, including my car's brakes wearing down to bare metal because they had partially seized, as well as one of my axles blowing a boot and spraying grease everywhere. So both those things needed to be swapped for new components. And there was no way that I was going to be able to pull that off over a weekend. So I spent an afternoon I had throwing some grease and a slapdash repair on the axle so that I could keep my car running to and from work over the next few weeks. And I picked up some fresh brake pads so that my car was still able to stop. Then I ordered the remaining parts to fix my car properly and harvested an axle from the scrapyard after work one day. I spent the following weekend working on my brakes. Then the weekend after that, working on the axle. And this whole thing took me about 3 weeks because I didn't just sit down and crank it out in one big 16-hour Saturday. But instead, each of those weeks, I just did something that wasn't enough. Until suddenly, it was. And I could check those items off my list in full. I didn't even do the breaks the same day. I did the parts that were most crucial at first, and then I did the rest later. But because of the little steps I took, I was able to fix everything. And it was incredibly educational and, frankly, fulfilling to do so. Now, what might this look like for you? Well, maybe you've been wanting to start something new in your life. But you've been afraid because you don't have everything perfect yet. That's okay. You don't have to have everything perfect. And in fact, you won't be able to until you have some on-the-ground experience. But you can start the process. If that's working out, then you can go buy some dumbbells and start doing a single set of an exercise each day just to get into the habit of picking up the weights consistently. If that's starting a business, then you can make the email, create the social media pages, and then hop on Canva to go start playing with the different banner templates for your website. If that's applying for a job, then go open your resume and read it over to see if anything jumps out at you as needing to be fixed. Then hop on Google and start saving the jobs you like, applying to one every couple days. If that's making friends, then go look for some free events on Eventbrite or Meetup or just your local city's tourism site, because most cities do have that, and work out which ones you want to spend your time on and are actually able to make it to on a consistent basis. Or even just once, just to try it. If consistent is too much of an investment right now, what can I go to once, right? So whatever the big thing you've been procrastinating on is, ask yourself, what's the smallest first step that you can take? Then take it. You don't need to have an overwhelming list of steps. You don't need to have everything perfect, and you don't need to do everything all at once. Just take that first, tiny doable step, and before you know it, you'll be well on your way to reaching your goals. So take today, figure out what that first step is, and then go give it a shot.